Welcome back. Some of you might be a little bit sad about today's particular video because our grungy yellow walls and duct tape banners and all of the things that made the dyno room so quaint are gone. We have decided to go ahead and freshen things up for you a little bit. You know, when it's just a grungy dyno room that we're in here flinging rubber all over the place and fuming it up and doing all the things we do dynoing, that's part of our job, that's what we do. But now that we've brought you in, we want to make sure that we look nice. How about the Brock's Performance blue on the checkerboard? We're winning over here, right? Alright, so what do I have? I'm pretty sure every ZH2 owner in the world has personally messaged me to ask me what the progress has been on this bike. So we're going to not only show you what kind of progress we've made, but we're going to show you performance-wise where we started from and where we're ending up. Plus, it's not all about performance too. We've got some other things that make the bike look cooler, make it handle better, make it more comfortable, but we'll get into all that. Right now, what I wanted to do is just when we last met with the ZH2, our buddy Dan had snatched up one of the first ones in the country and driven it here so that we could work on it. And mid-March, it was cool here in Ohio. Nobody knew what a COVID was. Things were a whole lot different then. Right now, it's summertime in Ohio. I'm sweating to death already, and it's just going to get worse. That's one of the things. Whenever you mess with one of the Kawasaki Supercharged bikes on the dyno, it is absolutely amazing how much heat comes off of these motors. And it'll engulf this room, and believe me, I'll be sweating to death by the end of this thing. But anyway, one of the things that happens there is naturally, and we talk about it all the time, weather conditions change the power. And I can tell you from experience with the H2s, the H2SXs, and also with this bike, I don't want to spoil any secrets, but the supercharged Kawasaki's lose quite a bit of power when the heat goes up and the humidity especially goes up. So what we did, even though we've been developing products and the exhaust has been off, the air filter's been out, we've been working with Sprint, with some of our Sprint Filter and some of our other guys, I put it back exactly like it was, with the exception Dan had his 93 octane fuel where he broke the bike in. We used up all that fuel in product testing, so I had to put some 93 Marathon in it. They're the closest. It's a top tier gasoline. So, and we checked, of course, to see if that had any bearings on our readings, and it really didn't. Even though Dan had more of a wintertime blend and we're more in the summertime blend, there's a little bit of a change, but not enough to worry about mapping for it. So, without further ado, I'm going to make 3 base runs on this bike. We are paying attention to the coolant temp and the boost temp. So, because we want to make sure that our testing is as consistent as possible. That's not easy to do on one of these bikes. Sometimes it takes a little bit more time for the fans to cool everything down. I'll take care of all that. We'll edit that crap out so that you just see what we're doing, and I'll tell you why. So we'll go ahead and get at it. 3 base runs, completely stock. The only difference is gas. And well, before I do that, I guess I should do a little reminder of that's really what we got to do in our first run and I pulled them up here. Like I said, mid-March. Look at this correction factor. All right, so that's an SEA correction factor of 0.97. We call that Disneyland. That's not how it is in the real world. Now, if you happen to live in an area like we do, in March, your bike is noticeably snappier. We've even had people say, get with us and say, hey, in the springtime my bike will power wheelie, and in the summer I can't get it to wheelie unless I clutch it. It's the amount of available oxygen and the amount of of water in the air that your bike doesn't have to burn. It's so long as it can burn some air and some fuel, make more power, and also higher barometric pressure makes a big difference, which is usually the case in the spring also. But we've got a decent summertime day here, so we're just going to start from there, and then we're going to, this is not only going to be same day, but this is going to be while you watch. So you may want to grab some popcorn. I'm going to grab my hearing protection, and we'll make some base runs. Hey guys, before we get started, I wanted to point something out. Now, when we were riding the bike previously, we encountered some error codes, which is completely normal. Kawasaki's diagnostic system is very good, and if it thinks there's something that could get you in trouble, it tells you. And basically what happens when you put one of these new bikes on the dyno, the front wheel isn't spinning, the back wheel is, and sometimes the back wheel is spinning a lot faster than the bike thinks it should be, considering the front wheel isn't spinning at all, and it'll throw codes. Now, for those of you that have seen our videos previously, incorporated into our ECU flash, we have the ability to clear those codes, because otherwise you either have to go for a ride and know the secret handshake, or take the bike to your Kawasaki dealer, they put it on their Kawasaki diagnostic system, they clear your codes, and everything's golden. So let me show you here. Right now the dash is flashing, it's mad, the power mode, the K-track's flashing. Usually when that happens, the bike stays in the mode that it was in previously. I'm going to go ahead and assume that this bike did the same thing. But quite frankly, I don't know. If I don't have the ability to clear out the codes and then put it in full power mode and take the traction control off, how can I possibly know? You can see that we're not doing our fancy trick, which is letting you in on a little something that we'll talk about later when it comes to the ECU flash on this bike. But anyway, we're just going to get up here, we're going to make some runs. It is what it is. There's absolutely nothing we can do about it except go to our Kawasaki dealership that used to be conveniently located 10 minutes from here. Now it's located 45 minutes across town. Lots of traffic, lots of gook. I ain't going. I'll deal with the flashing stuff for as long as I have to before I'll go over there to get that done. I just don't have time. So anyway, we'll make some runs right now, and I want you to listen to this bike. All stock bikes have to meet certain requirements, right? This bike in particular, stock, I like the sound, but it's pretty subdued. And you know, when I say that, if I can sit here and have a conversation with you clearly, then obviously that's pretty quiet. Alright, so let her warm up and go. I want to point something out to you here. We're going to be in fifth gear, and I run the bike all the way to rev limiter on the path. What I want you to watch is the tach. Once we get to a certain area, it'll start to flash and say, you need to prepare to shift. And I want you to pay attention to how many times and how long that flashes before we actually hit the rev limiter on this path. We're going to zoom in on the dash so you can watch this. you can see, if you want to move up here, I'll get a little bit of this junk out of the way. Actually, let's do this. Close them all. And then I'll pull up. All right, we've got this run from last time. And then I'll just pull up this last one here. So you can see, not only, look at the correction factor, 0.097 to 1.04. The humidity in the room right now, it's 45% versus last time. And then we've got there's a pretty big gap in the pressure in the room. There was definitely more pressure last time, and you can see it. We haven't made any additional changes. This dyno chart is exactly a dead-ass overlay. Every little bump, every little crack, every little crease, every little crevice. And we are down, peak power-wise, 8 horsepower. In some areas of the curve, geez, man. There's 16. We start getting up in here, 128 to 151. So you can see basically what's happened is, as a result of the conditions, the bike isn't making any more power. From a product development standpoint, what that means for us is that we have to develop our products in a consistent manner, get consistent readings. It makes 172 right now in these conditions. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and just, I think the biggest thing people want to know is what does a new Penta-Carbon muffler or alien head, or we're even going to make a slash cut for these. What does it do power-wise? We're going to show you what the slip-on does, and I'll just show you. So basically what we're going to do is replace that with this. I can tell you, this is light, but we're going to do this live. Now we'll fast forward through it, but we're going to show you exactly how easy it is to put this on and what you get when you do put it on. All right, I have jumped down in the exhaust change pit. Now we just had this bike on the dyno, so it's hot. The room's already getting hot. Like I said, these things make crazy heat. So when you go to swap your exhaust, don't do it like we're doing it. I can take this little temperature reading here, 360 degrees, get a little closer. All right, damn near 500 degrees. That's why I've got a towel here. Just let your bike cool down. We're just showing you how quickly we can do this. I'm a trained professional, so I'll try not to burn myself up. There's one nut and bolt and one screw you have to loosen to pull this whole thing off. Now I'm going to reach under here. This one is a little bit, you probably have to go over to the other side of the bike to see this one. And all we're doing is it's just a clamp. We're just going to loosen that clamp up so we can get the muffler to slide off when it's time. Should be enough. Man, I can feel the heat off of that thing. Just slide that off. Wow, this is heavy. Scratch up any stuff. Yank all my cords. This on the stock exhaust, they do use a graphite gasket. We don't mess with that. Now, that's it. We are ready to put the Penta-Carbon on. But what I want to do, I'm going to have you follow me to our scale. Apples to apples. Put that back in there. Wow, that thing is hot. Wait right there. Nothing that a big old industrial sprint puller can't cure. All right, we'll take that. And for reference, we'll take this. We'll just head over to the scale. That's right. Pumping some serious iron here. All right. Let's zero it out. All right. Go ahead and put this up there. Almost 17 pounds. this down here on the floor so it doesn't burn anybody. All right, so we will be replacing it with our Penta-Carbon. It's ultralight stainless steel, carbon fiber end cap. Just do a little comparison here. It's crazy. How can it be 3.5 pounds? Ha! We'll tell you some secrets here shortly. So, it is what it is, guys. I'm going to go ahead and grab this. I'm going to let that sit there and cool off for a little bit because we're finished with it for now. Jump down here in the pit. Now, we've got a clamp here. So it's very simple. We use the same nut and bolt that the stock one came from. Now, all we really have to do is slide this on. Instead of using that gasket, we use a very precise fit. It's a metal to metal seal. It works fantastic and it saves you the expense. You can see it's a pretty tight fit, but it saves you the expense of having to buy a new gasket. Plus, it saves weight. All right. Make sure that the angle is correct here, because you can maneuver it a little bit. Go ahead, tighten her up. All right. Now, because once we get that tight, that sets the placement here. Go in. Make sure our clamp's down at the end. Now we can turn this however we want. Some guys do that. I try to sort of hide the little clamp just because it's not the prettiest thing, but it works great. And then we just tighten it up. Now listen, guys, it's just a clamp, right? So I've got a 1/4 inch drive ratchet here. I'm just sort of spinning it. You just need to get it tight. A lot of guys really over tighten stuff like this because they're worried about leaks. Well, guess where the biggest leak is? This giant hole, right? That's where it's leaking from. So all that has to be is snug down. We'll go ahead and put our probe back in here. All right. So, that didn't take long, minutes. But what did we get as a result? One of the things that we really concentrate on, and I'm going to get into a little bit more detail on that, is sound and sound quality. If you've ever heard a bike going down the road, and it sounds like somebody's following behind it with a big 55-gallon empty drum, and it's just going, sounds terrible. That's because the baffle packing has blown out. So it either needs to be repacked or replaced. It depends on what kind of muffler you get. Now, one of the things that we do and we're really proud of, we've got a tremendous amount of work in the exhaust on these H2s. You saw how hot they get. That's nothing. I mean, we'll get the pipes glowing cherry red. These things make a bunch of heat. And if you just put anybody's muffler on there, muffler failure is imminent. The question is how long. We have very good luck with our muffler packing and also with our sound quality and what I mean there. So I start this bike up at an idle. I don't want it to be obnoxious. You know, if you want it to be obnoxious, just don't put that on. That's obnoxious as all hell. Or go get you a muffler tip from AutoZone. We want it to have a pleasant sound. And when we're riding, you know, we're trying to cut down on the earbuds. Now I know some of the guys are like, no, more earbuds. We're trying to be socially responsible here the best we can because these are race systems and there's a really good chance that somebody's going to go ahead and ride their bike on the street. So when it comes to sound quality, we want the idle to be nice, we want it to be a deep sound. When we're riding, we want it to be reasonable, but when we get into gas, we want to know we have a performance exhaust system. I'll go ahead and start her up here. Well, I can't tell you everything. We've got a lot of trade secrets involved here, but basically what we do is we use a combination of materials and fabrication techniques that adjust the sound. And we work very closely with our manufacturers. They all have slightly different ideas of what a good sound is, so we spec it out. And you know, it can be any number of ways. If you look at something like this, well, Brock, that's baffle packing. Well, it is. Of course it is. It's baffle packing. Everybody who's repacked a dirt bike exhaust knows what this is. But how do you change the sound? Well, if you notice, we've got steel wool underneath what we call the glass fiber or glass weave, and by adjusting the density of this fiber, meaning do we want to have a real soft, fine fiber, or do we want a coarse fiber? Same thing with the glass wool. Do we want something to be more aggressive? Because hello, it deadens the sound. That's what it does. How much sound do we want to deaden? So we take all kinds of things into consideration on a bike like the H2 that makes so much heat that the exhaust will glow. We really have to take precautions. We've got different techniques. We've got different fibers, and so what we end up with is a baffle that has incredibly long life. And when I say incredibly long life, if you look on our site, do a search on our site for alien head baffle repacking kit. We don't even sell them. Think about how many thousands and thousands and thousands of Brock's Performance exhausts are out there, and we don't even sell a repack kit. You don't have to repack them. So a lot of guys will say, well, Brock, your stuff's a little on the expensive side. Sure it is, but we make it the best way we know how to make it, so you're going to get a great product that does what you want. So everybody's wondering right now, why are you talking, where's my horsepower? We're going to go ahead and show you what happens horsepower-wise. Now, we have the stock ECU and a slip-on. And if you've listened to me over the years, I've tried to make it clear. What are slip-ons good for? They're good for aesthetics, sound, weight reduction. Look at the weight reduction that we had there, you know, on the better part of 15-pound weight reduction. And we also have, now we have a really nice sound, and the bike's going to handle better. But is it going to make a bunch more power? No, that's not what slip-ons do. And when I say that, I tell people all the time, if you want to make your bike legitimately faster, you have to change the part underneath the fairing that you can't see. Will we get a power gain here? Sure. Will it be a phenomenal power gain? No, it can't be. And the thing that happens with this bike is, if you're putting in a high flow exhaust, the whole idea is get more air in so you can get more air out and make more power. Well, this bike, right where something like this starts to really shine, this bike shuts itself off. And what does that mean? That means I'm sitting here at 100% throttle, but the computer is telling the throttle bodies to shut down. And you can see it. You can see it plain as day. It starts in this area, and then they hold your power here, and then they just shut everything down. Noise abatement, emissions, we've been through it a million times. So anyway, I want to show you what this is going to do. No tune, stock air cleaner. Let's just go and make our 3 consistent passes so we can continue on. And what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go ahead and take this old one out so that it doesn't confuse us. So the only thing we'll see here now is from this run 23 in this line, what we've got going on. Nosing over on the dyno and slowing down, and I want you to see the difference in how much quicker it accelerates with this pipe. So we're not going to get 100 horsepower with a stock ECU. We're going to get measurable gains in performance, but they're not going to be stunning. So let me show you with any slip-on. I'm not making excuses for ours. It doesn't matter which brand you have. But you can see we went from a pretty consistent 172 to 177, 178, 177. Let me just go ahead and pull. Let's close that out, and we'll go ahead and pull out the red one. All right, well, let's go over here. So really, when you think about it, this is a nice noticeable gain all the way up the face of the curve. Pretty nice gain in here, about 8 horsepower or so. You get up here, and this is really where an exhaust like this should really begin to shine. But it can't shine. It's like I slammed on the gas. It just wasn't me. It was the ECU. So one of the things I want to show you here, though, is the amount of time. And can you see that time? I can actually feel it on the dyno. But when we switch this over, if we just go from, let's say, this peak, which is at 5.36 seconds, versus this peak, which is at 5, we're accelerating half a second quicker, even though the bike is shutting itself down. And that's going to happen in every gear. We're doing it in 5th, but you're going to notice it in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So between the weight reduction and the quicker performance, would I put this on? Yeah, and what I want to show you here too, this is really important. Let me pull this back. One of the things I really love it, and I'm sort of speaking generally here, because under no circumstances would Kawasaki and their engineers know that you're going to get rid of their big giant pipe and switch for a cooler, sweeter looking, better sounding version. But I want you to look at the air-fuel ratio. So where we started out stock in this area here, I mean, the blue line is less than 12 to 1, and it's pretty consistent under wide open throttle. But once you start getting up into the high revs, it drops. That's 11 to 1. Let's go up here. 10.6 to 1. Now, compare that to the Penta-Carbon. Did we make a change? Yes, we most definitely made a change. Let's just go right here, and we'll look at 11.9 versus 12.6. Is 12.6 too lean to run your supercharged bike? No. In the cruising range, the ECU actually adjusts it up to the 15, 16 to 1 range. So once you're under power, even at the highest revs we can get out of this thing, we're still at 11.2 to 1, which what that means is the bike is plenty safe. You can put this on, you can ride the hell out of the bike, you're not going to blow it up, nothing silly like that. Now, could we tune more power into it if we had a Power Commander or a Bazzaz or any other type of tuner? Yeah, but we don't. So right now we're forced to ride the bike the way it is. What else is next? Come on over here. Now we've got an assortment of products here. Things that seem like they'd be so simple. A kickstand. Well, when you have an adjustable suspension link, you need an adjustable kickstand. Well, dummy, just go make a kickstand. It's not quite that easy, because what happens is we're changing the height of the bike. So we want the kickstand to work if you've got it slammed into dirt. We've got some customers that prefer raising their bikes. We have links for that. And if that's the case, they get the road kickstand that has to accept the fact that they're going up further. Now, if you look over here, let me show you kickstand. Wow, Brock, that's a kickstand. What's the big deal? Why did it take so long? Why can't I just buy one right now, like a burger from McDonald's? Well, because there's a lot of engineering that goes into this. When you think about it, if you've got your bike slammed, you want the foot to be as solidly on the ground. You don't want the tip going into the asphalt or the heel digging into the asphalt. So in order to do that, we have a really cool end here that has a taper, and I don't know if you can see that. We've gone really elaborate with this, but one of the things this rolling motion lets us do is raise the bike or lower the bike, and then we have to turn it. So that's why we've printed so many of these. You know, we like, in a perfect world, we'd be able to do what we did here. These are the suspension links are off an H2. They fit this bike. They don't raise it and lower it the same amount, but they raise them and lower them the amount that this bike needs, so it worked out perfectly. So the closest kickstand we had was a Z900 RS. I put it on, it looks real good, and it goes and crashes completely into the shift linkage. So we have to print different parts, test them, and fit them so that now this comes up, it hits its stop, it doesn't run into any of the mechanism. When you tried to downshift before, it was pushing the kickstand. All of this is all cleared out, and also you've got enough quartering clearance to where you're not going to drag this if you're one of those super talented dudes that can drag a knee. So what else do we have over here? This bike is going to need extensions. You know, a lot of guys these days, okay, you don't drag race, that's fine. We love drag racing, it's a great tool to measure performance, but there are a lot of guys these days just don't do it. But they'll road race or road race. So if you get out there and you got your fast, short little ZH2 making its power, and you whack the gas, it goes straight up, and the dude you're racing whacks his gas, he goes straight forward, you just got your ass kicked. You might be able to catch him, but it's better just not to let that happen. So what we've done, we've printed up some different versions of bolt-on extensions. Well, Brock, I buy up bolt-on extensions all the time. Just order them. All right, that's not how it works. So first we came up with some because they need to fit. They need to fit in the swing arm. They need to fit very tightly. You need to be able to use all the rest of your hardware. And then we printed up another set to get it to fit better. We did some analysis, and we realized that this just, while it's lightweight and was on the edge of acceptable, we just wanted to make it beefier in here. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit heavier, but these bikes make a whole lot of power, so we really want them to be beefy. So, printed parts. These are the greatest things to help things along. Now that we've approved the design, these are in the production phase, and we'll have them available shortly. We currently have the kickstand and lowering links online. And aesthetics. I kept looking at this bike, we're making parts, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's supercharged, but that's sort of, to me, this is just a little bit cheesy. I don't want my bike to be cheesy. So, we'll print one up. All right, well, that looks like it has potential. Well, Brock, why didn't you put the river symbol or Kawasaki or something that is more Kawasaki based? That's simple. We don't own those words, they do. And if we put those words on something like this, they'll ring us up, hey Brock. It's like if you decided to put stupid fast, I have a trademark on that. If you decide to put stupid fast on it and go make money, you gotta pay me money. It's just how it works. So we already have the finished part. I'm not sure if you saw it, but I think it looks cool. These are really nice bikes. Inexpensive. Personally, I think that looks really good. And they fit on all the supercharged motors. So if you got H2, H2SX, whatever. So anyway, back at it. Now, these all seem relatively simple, right? Pretty straightforward, straight lines. Well, now I want you to look at this. Our friends at Sprint Filter, we said, listen, we've got to have a filter for this ZH2. And they said, great. So we sent them everything they needed to measure and create. And if you look right here, these are the marks. This printer has been, this filter was printed. They did all the testing there in Italy. They had all the things they needed. They had a ram air tube, they had a filter, they had all the stuff. They printed this up, and I told them, I said, I'm a P08 F1-85 fan because I want to make as much power as I can possibly make. So they put one together for us, and this thing, high flow, right? High flow, and it's the same thing with the exhaust. If you want to get big power gains out of a high flow filter, you need to be in a high flow situation. So with the ECU turning itself off, not exactly high flow. But I'm going to go ahead and put this in so I can show you how to put it in. But one of the biggest advantages here now, if you decide to go with a P08, let's say, I'm going to show you how easy it is to pull that filter out, hit it with some compressed air, put it back in, and go ride. So follow me. This is grab my chair here. On the Ninja H2, the H2SX, the air filter is located here. They've changed that on the ZH2, but I'm going to show you how to get in here. The filter is actually in this area. So what you need to do first of all is remove. There's 3 screws and a fastener that hold this little top plate on. Now you'll notice I don't have a wrench to get these screws out. Well, that's a little secret that you learn after so many years, because obviously we've had this apart and back together and apart and back together. But these are little, your fairing screws, they screw into little rubber inserts. So if I've got this on the end of a 3/8 wrench that's 6 inches long, I'm just going to go in and tear the rubber inserts. My fairings won't fit right. I'll have to get I'll have to buy more parts. So if you just use this, a good turn with just this in your hand works out fantastic. And then this is one of the little push fasteners. If you're not familiar with them, you look at them and you go, well, I can't put a wrench on them, what do I do? Well, you just take anything pointed, an Allen wrench, press down, and then pull it up. And then what you've got, that allowed it to release, and then we'll just push it back like this when we go to put it back in. All right, so we're going to take off this cover. They've got it attached here with a little rubber bung that I need to lubricate. You can see there, right? And this bung, this thing's real important because there's not a whole heck of a lot holding the air cleaner in place. So what we'll do here, got a screw. All right, so now it's going to come up here and very gently just sort of push this forward. And you can see what happens. It comes out. You've got your ram air opening here. This is your little screen to keep the birds out, giant rocks and so forth. I'm going to put this over here. We don't need any pretty parts falling on the ground. All right. So now, here's where the air filter goes. Now, that is a little bit tighter. All right, now we've got the screws out. They give you a little tab here to pull on and a little place to put your finger here, and you just slide it out. All right, and there we go. We've got a brand new filter. Bike's got, when I say brand new, it's got 500 miles on it on the road breaking in, and then of course we put miles on it here on the dyno. So what I'm going to do, we'll just do our typical comparison. There we've got our Sprint filter. Let's do this. Right? Look through it. Don't look through it. Buy one. It's the only one you're going to buy for the rest of your life. So let's put this in. So same deal. Goes in the same way. I'm just going to slide it in. There we go. And then we'll put our screws in. Now this is a prototype. We don't have any little metal fasteners in here, so we don't want to over tighten this. It just needs to be tight enough to make the seal. All right, so that's in. That's plenty tight. I'm going to go ahead and give that just a little bit, just a little teeny bit. I'm not over here. I'm just going to go. That's the torque spec, is whoop. All right, now ordinarily I would just leave it like this and test, but we want this to be a 100% test. When I say 100%, exactly how it was with the OEM filter. Now this thing here can get a little confusing. I was trying to push it in and just wasn't having much luck. And then what I decided is I just go ahead and pull this out and plop it in right here where it goes. All right, you can see there's a little hook here. Let's go back and look at that. You got a little area, pushes back there, little area, grabs it right there. Now all we need to do is make sure that this inside line goes in here and matches, and of course that we don't knock it off. All right, there we go. Now I'm pulling back, and what tells you whether or not you've got this correct? If this isn't seated up correctly, this hole won't line up. Now you can see it lines up. I screw it in. All right, and we're good to go. All right, so put our little piece back on. Now, one of the things that I do, a lot of guys spit, whatever. I mean, a little bit of WD-40 goes a really long way here. And what we're doing here, and if you have, I just don't have any, I don't have any assembly grease or anything right now handy, so I'm just going to put a little WD. That WD is not, of course it'll help this little pin go in a little bit quicker, but when this rubber dries out, it's really easy to break these pins if it's not lubricated. So I know we'll have this back apart in no time, and I'll put some regular grease on it, but I'll just go ahead and put this back in. What I usually do is put my finger behind it so I can feel, right now I can feel that the tip went through the rubber. So now all we have to do, put screws in, and we will be ready to go. All right, so these are all three pretty much the same size. I think this one might be a tad shorter. So basically the longer ones are going to be, if they're going through more layers of fairing, if that makes any sense. And you can see you got this piece, that piece, and that's why that's so long. This here, like I said, you just pull that up, drop it here in the hole. Once it goes in the hole, push it, and it locks. I love great designs like that. Get the other ones lined up. And you sort of have to push around on these things a little bit. I mean, they're rubber mounted. All right, we are back to stock. See how easy that is. I mean, you could pull this filter out, take this amount of time, pull this filter out, heat it with compressed air. I mean, it's so easy. Do it frequently so that your bike runs as good as it can all the time. It's just so easy. There's no oil, no washing stuff. It's just so clean and easy. It's a great product. That's why we offer them. All right, now we got our Sprint filter in, and we're going to go and do exactly the same thing. Now, one of the things that I noticed in our testing, and hopefully you'll notice, because we're going to go for a ride too. I'm going to see if I can get these coats to go away. These bikes have a really pronounced chirp when you back off the gas. When you put the Sprint filter in, the chirp gets louder and more aggressive. It sounds really cool. So anyway, let's see what we've got power and air fuel wise, adding the highest flow filter that money can buy. Saw, it is what it is, and we're going to show you the results. As much as I would love to say put this filter in and you're going to pick up 10 horsepower in stock trim, you're not. Why? Because the way this bike is configured right now in basically stock form, the OEM filter flowed as much as the engine needed. If the engine needed more, then we would have gotten more. But that's also because we're only messing with the low RPMs, and where the high flow filter does shine and will be worth 10 horsepower up in the higher RPMs, doesn't exist yet. So let me show you, let's clear this up a little bit, see if we picked up a little. Come over here and where did, if we picked up anywhere, you know, maybe a little bit in here. There's 4 horsepower. Yet again, it's shutting off the throttle. The current configuration definitely had, when we put this into perspective, the way the bike comes stock, obviously the OEM muffler is a restriction. We put the Penta-Carbon on and we remove the restriction and you saw the power we gained. When it comes to the intake, the way the bike is configured at this point, there is no restriction. That OEM filter can flow as much as this bike needs. So do you need a Sprint filter? Well, I don't know if you can hear the chirp, it's really cool. But if you like the chirp, you like the ease of maintenance, and you like the fact that you can put it in now, and once we have enough products to be able to use it, you'll already have it. And what's next? What happened to our air-fuel ratio when we put in the Sprint filter? Well, come over here and look. Is it gonna hurt my bike? Well, you can see in this particular instance, the air-fuel ratio, even with a see-through air filter, it didn't change. Now, once we can make enough power up in here to where the OEM filter does become a restriction, then not only will we pick up our power, but we're also going to see a difference in air-fuel as a result of all that extra air coming in. So, and then we'll need to tune it all. But for right now, basically what we've got is, if you're in stock trim, we've got enough components for you to lower your bike safely, Now some guys don't like, why would you lower your bike? Personally, I have short inseam. But I had an H2 ZH2 owner here last week. He's a big dude, really big dude, friend of one of my friends. And he saw it and he sat on it, and he's like, "Can I sit on that?" And I said, I'm like, "Sure, get me here." And as soon as he sat down, he went, "Wow, it just feels like I have so much more control with my feet planted firmly on the ground." And also, when you take that bike, these things are a bit top heavy with the trellis frame. When you lower the bike, you've lowered the center of gravity, and he was going like this. He's like, "Wow, it even feels lighter." So we have it set up now where we could take this bike to the drag strip if we wanted. It would be terribly, terribly ugly because it's got an assist clutch, which is going to be a problem, but it might be fun for doing wheelies and showing off. But we're going to take it for a ride. I went through the service manual, and as far as right now, with the dash blinking the way it is, I can't read the diagnostic codes that the bike's throwing. And according to the manual, the only way to turn them off is to go to my dealer. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to suit up here and go for a little ride, and so I can feel it, because I know a lot of guys are saying, well, you changed your fuel ratio. Is the bike going to stumble? Is it going to be, is it going to be terrible to ride? Great question. Now, what I was doing, I don't know if you were, but I watched this area, and when we're riding this bike, there's nothing that tells me that it's too lean, even with the Sprint Filter and the Penta-Carbon, that's going to be too lean. But this test won't tell me if I feel any lean surges or things of that nature on the road. So I'm going to go get my safety stuff on. We'll get this thing off the dyno, and we'll go for a ride, see if we can clear these codes. All right, went ahead and rolled the bike out in the sun. I wanted to show you something real quick. First of all, how cool it looks. But I was mentioning the lowering links. If you come up here, what we've done, we lowered the forks in the tubes, or the tubes in the clamps here, about 1.25 inches. Can't really go much more without running into the handlebars. And then we also lowered the rear to match. The seat height itself has been lowered. That translated to approximately 1.5 inches lower. So if I sit on the bike, I can actually sit completely flat-footed now, whereas before I was definitely up on my tippy toes. If you could come over, and I know it seems silly, but kickstands are so important, because if your kickstand doesn't work correctly, or if your kickstand fails, your bike falls over. And on a bike like this, man, it could be thousands of dollars worth of damage if something's wrong. So one of the things I wanted to mention is, right now we did lower the bike. If I put it over on the side stand, you can see we're using all the pad. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come over here now and go ahead and lower it some more with our front end tie down strap. Now, this is a drag racing deal. I could ride around on the street with it like this, but it's going to be really harsh and bumpy. So you can see now I've lowered it to where, not only do I have my feet flat on the ground, I've got room to spare. So if I put the kickstand down again, you can see the bike doesn't lean over nearly as far, because now it's even lower, but the kickstand works correctly. So does that mean if I push this bike over into hot asphalt, it won't fall over? No, use a little foot. But it does mean that we're doing everything we can on our end to design a product for you that works the best we know how to make it. So what I'm going to do, now I'm going to go gear up, and I'm going to have our cameraman here just do a walk around. The annoying whistle, we've covered it before. The supercharged bikes make so much heat, that heat comes up, it warms the fuel in the tank. So if you go up there, you can hear and blows the gas tank up, or the lid. So anyway, no more nuisance noise. There you go. Enjoy. I gotta tell you, this bike is really growing on me. If you come in and look, with it lowered like this, and if you wanted to lower your forks internally, you could lower them. You could lower it so where it's this way all the time. But I think that this bike lowered like this at that angle, just looks badass. Anyway, but that's just me. So I'll be back shortly. All right, go for a little ride here. Oh, I don't know if you can hear that supercharger chirp, but it is much, much louder with the Sprint filter. Alright, so I'm sure you saw Corey the cameraman there. He was just trying to get a little sound bite for us, cruising wise. We'll go back and we'll get him another. This fucker is fast, and I like it. I am gonna have to go get some. Gonna have to go get some gas. Oh, I'll go do that right now. Right now, the bike feels fantastic. I really like the way it handles. Yeah, it's a little bit lower, but it just seems more comfortable, and it's not nearly as rowdy to ride. If that makes sense, even compared to stock, because it's staying on the ground a little bit better. Yeah, just wheelied in third there, but that's what bikes like this do. All right, 93. All right, that's good enough. Just some gas so we don't run out on our little trip. 37.5. We're going to be stuck here because I'm not smart enough to figure out how to zero a odometer. So what we have to do here, we have to stay above 25 miles an hour for 10 minutes, which sounds like it'd be easy, but when you're driving around in a plat like this, it's just definitely not. Right there. We got below 10, and we're going to continue to get below 10 until we can get someplace. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go another direction. So most modern motorcycles are known for running lean. I just felt a little bit of a lean surge there, but definitely not anything that would, I mean, it's not really troublesome. Nuisance maybe. We'll
Look down here every once in a while, see whether or not our little flashing lights go away. Man, this thing really is a lot of fun to ride. And what I'll do, I really have no idea what mode we're in. I know when I had it on the dyno previously, we were at full power and the K-track was turned completely off so that we didn't have to worry about, so that we could get full power on the dyno. And then the lights started blinking and now we don't know anything. But I'm going to go ahead and assume that, because I did feel the front wheel come up there when I went past the camera, came up in third, and I didn't notice the bike being intrusive. Alright, so now we're above 25 miles per hour. So really, at 50 miles, we'll turn the bike off and see what happens. I can't imagine that you'd have to go to your dealer to get these codes reset in stock form, because these codes are going to go up. If you do a burnout, front wheel's not spinning, rear wheel is, it'll start throwing codes up on the dash. But as emissions regulations get tighter, this bike has to be Euro 5 approved. Maybe you're not going to be able to turn it off by yourself in stock form. Of course, we hope to be able to get to it once we can flash it. But right now, we don't have that ability. No, my 10 mile an hour. Or 25, I mean, no, shit. Who puts lights on their interstates? Only here in Ohio. Got no mirrors on this thing, which I hate, especially in traffic. You guys notice how every time I go for a ride on a motorcycle, I ride into construction? Really uncomfortable not having mirrors in this traffic. Well, that's pretty cool. According to the gauge, right now I'm getting about 56 miles per gallon. That's always nice. Of course, that goes way down on one of these H2s when you twist on the gas. They will flat drink the fuel. 42 miles. We're stopped again. Yeah, we're definitely getting a little D-cell pop. That's normal. We're in the cruising range, which means we're really, really lean. 15.5, 16 to 1. Boy, this thing tacks out a little bit. 70 miles an hour. We're going 4,400 RPM because of those extra 2 teeth on the rear sprocket that they put to make this thing more fun in stock form. Cruise control does work even with the engine lights flashing. Alright, now we're someplace where we can stay above 25 miles an hour for 10 minutes. Cruise control is really nice. Give your hand a break. Alright guys, so we're at 52 miles right now. That's about how long I've been able to stay above 25 miles an hour. So what I'm going to do now, just sort of pull over here. Alright, we're back. So what I've done, it was right around 42 miles that I finally got to a position where I could stay above 25 miles per hour. So that's 10 miles. So all I have to do is stop, turn the key off, and do this 3 or 4 more times. And that's typically that's the secret handshake we talk about. You have to know what's going on. According to the manual, it doesn't work for this. Well, they didn't say it didn't work. They just never bothered to mention it like all the other ones do. So there's a really good chance that I'm not going to have any choice. But it's fun figuring it out. It's a nice day. Beautiful day for a ride. A little hot. 86 degrees. I got my mesh Harley Davidson jacket and my mesh Harley Davidson gloves on because I usually ride my Harley when it's really hot outside. Alright, we'll give it a little gas. Yeah, I think we're in full power mode. We just power wheelied all the way through second gear. That was pretty fun. But we got to keep our head in the game, which means 10 more miles. One thing that's really nice, too, we'll go ahead and got the little cruise control symbol there. We'll click it up. It is set. Now I have my right hand open so I can turn off the camera. And I'll see you guys in about 10 more miles. All right, here we are, back again. We're at 63 miles now. Turn her off. I thought we had it there for a second. Nope. That's okay. More reason to ride around. Listen to this supercharger. All right, here we are again, 72 miles. I should probably go a little bit further, but I got slowed down, so we might as well do it here. This is our third 10 mile for at least 25 miles per hour trip. We're just trying to get these lights to go off, so I can't use the quick shifter. I don't know what power modes we're in. I do, and I ran it a little bit there, and it wheelied real good. So it is in full power mode. K-track seems to be off. Wait. All right, it's not flashing. It was flashing before. And look at that. So the check engine light went off. Road. Quick shifter appears to be on. All right. Shift lamp on. Quick shifter on. Rider mode on. Engine speed 12,000 RPM. Okay. Switch. See if we can switch modes here. I really need to read the owner's manual. All right, reset gets us back. Sport. We'll try sport. Looks like we got a shifter. All right, we'll see what sport mode means. There's my quick shifter back. Now, as luck would have it, we just got everything running or working correctly, so we can make adjustments, make sure the quick shift works. But we just happened to get all this working right by one of my favorite roads to go play on. So we have confirmed that even if the manual doesn't say it, and we could have missed it in the manual, it's usually pretty much always in the same spot. But even though the manual doesn't say it, if you know the secret handshake, which is at least 25 miles per hour continuous for 10 miles, turn the bike off, turn it back on, and do that 3 times instead of having to go to your dealer to get the codes cleared. The bike will clear them on its own, which is a great thing to know. We will eventually have the ECUs with a diagnostic reset, but I gotta tell you, it's gonna take a while. All right, here we go. We're gonna strap her down a little bit. It's my first attempt at launching a ZH2. We're not gonna do a burnout or anything. We're just gonna see what we get here. Well, the assist clutch makes things very difficult. The gearing makes things very difficult. But it's not unmanageable. We'll be able to go somewhere. Tell you what we'll do. We'll just turn back around and see whether we can do that again. And maybe get to wide open throttle. Let's see if she'll do a burnout in sport mode. nice. Oh, that was ugly. Well, try that again, because she did not hook. We got a lot of air in the tire, though. Try her again. Wow, that clutch just locks right up. All right, we'll do it one more time. All right. I need to find a different mode because I can hear it chirping and sputtering. I'm just going to have to pull it over to do that because it's going to take a second. All right, we're going to try one more. No burnout, just see if we can get the gas open. Ha! No. Alright. Well, we did get it going. Sort of. But it is definitely intrusive. I gotta go back and figure out how to get the get this thing back where I had it, full power mode, and adjusting the K-track settings instead of these road modes. Oh man. Whew. Wow, what a bike. This is a fantastic bike. I like it even more once we lowered it, but I'm not very tall. It handles phenomenally. I actually touched my foot on the road around a corner, so when you lower your bike, you have to remember things like that. As it sits right now, a lot of people would take this bike, put the Penta-Carbon on it, and say, you know what, I'm done. It's awesome, it handles great, it's got tons of power, it accelerates like mad, and now it sounds good, looks good, it's lighter, everything is better. And that's cool. For the guys who want to go a little bit further, once we get the full system on it, we'll really be able to make some more power with the Sprint Filter, change the oil, do the things that we always do to really make these things run. We know what kind of horsepower we can make out of these once we get into the ECU. Now, you'll notice I saved sort of the disappointing news for last. Brock, when are you going to have a flash? Is this thing a killer? No, it's a fantastic bike, but killers are killers, which means they've got crazy power. We don't have crazy power, and that's because currently, not only do the tools that we use, the third-party applications to get into the ECU and make adjustments, not only do they not work, they won't even power this up. This is all new stuff, from the OBD2 connector being completely different to the processor inside the ECU. We actually cut open one of the ECUs, got the processors, we got the pin out, and no one has any idea what it is or how it works. Is that the end of the world? No. When the H2s came out, the previous ZX10 and all the rest of the tools that we were using didn't work with them either. It just means that it's going to take a lot longer to figure it out. I don't want to give away any trade secrets, but some of the people working on this project they even contacted Russian hackers, like guys who know everything. Hey, do you know anything about this processor? And they said, no, we don't know. So we're going to get it figured out. When is a great question. The H2 took a year. I don't want you to flip out and say, oh no, I can't wait. Listen, this is a fantastic bike, just like this. If you do this, you're going to be happy.
but to extract the big power of it is going to take a while. We're going to keep rolling. We've got a full system designed. Now that we've realized that the bike runs great with the slip-on and the Sprint filter without any kind of mapping, we're going to move on to the full system, see what kind of effect that has on drivability. This thing drives great. I would jump on this bike right now and go anywhere. It's a fun motorcycle. So until then, man, I'm real sorry we don't have better news on the ECU. We'll keep working on it, and we'll keep you posted on the advancements. Until next time, I'm Brock from Brock's Performance. We'll see you then.